Tina from Shabby Dabby Doodah. Welcome back to my Missing Mojo Masterclass. So what we've got today is, this was a request for some different ideas using lace. So what I've got here are some laminated sheets, and you can probably see they have got laminated lace inside them. So I thought what would be quite a fun and easy project, because remember, these Missing Mojo Masterclasses, they're all about kind of like quick and easy things that are going to hopefully get your mojo kind of flowing again, is just to make some little booklets from these. So what I've done, I've just laminated the lace straight in between the laminating pouch, and I'm going to cut them down to kind of like make some little booklets from them, which I thought would be really cute to use in your journals. So this one, obviously, it was kind of like, you know, some other lace next to it, so it's a little bit squishy if I'm honest, but hopefully it should be fine. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to trim it here. Now, depending on the thickness of your lace, you may find that your laminating pouch is wanting to now come undone. You know, if you cut into the lace, if that makes sense. So what you can do to like prevent that is basically stitch around the edge. So I will take mine to the sewing machine and stitch around. So I'm just going to, take it to the sort of size that I want it. So I'm going to cut them all down, so that we can then just make a whole bunch of these quite quickly. So that's the first one, and then I'm going to make them all different sizes. So I've got a much smaller one here, so again, just cut that down. So this one, a little bit more of an irregular size. I probably have to have like a really long tool, you know, little booklet journal kind of thing. I'm not even too sure which way I would fold this. That way or that way, maybe that way, in which case I'm going to just do slightly more squished in, just so it's not quite so tall. Yeah, like that, I think. And then, yeah, I'm going to go around the edge, kind of like just stitching that in, so like that. And then I've got some navy blue here. I mean, it looks a bit like black, but yeah, it is actually navy blue. So again, just take that down like that. If the lace is quite thin, it might not really have that whole wanting to come apart thing. You know, I experimented with a couple of different laces, and to be honest, I found that, you know, the thicker the lace, the more resistant it is, obviously, to being laminated. So yeah, depending on what thickness your lace is, you might find it's okay, because I have laminated lace in the past which I'm sure was okay, but this, obviously, you know, it was just a little bit on the thick side, so it's not kind of quite wanting to be holding together so much. Okay, oh, that's not very straight. I mean, the beauty of laminated is, to be honest, obviously it's see-through, so it's not that obvious if it's not very straight. You know, it's not kind of showing up like a sore thumb. I mean, it will show up, but not too bad. I mean, this one, to be honest, you know, you could even make into like quite a big sort of, you know, like almost a full-size journal. So perhaps should we do that? So we've got a couple of really different pieces. So again, just going to cut this down. Now this one is quite thick lace, and you might be able to even see it's definitely not really wanting to kind of like stay stuck down on the edges. So, you know, for this one, definitely it needs stitching down. Okay, like that. And then this one, again, this is kind of like bigger, so should we do like a biggish one? Yeah, we'll do a biggish one with this, and I will just cut down the edges as well, because obviously it's got quite a bit of overhang as well. So just take that down, okie dokie, and then do like this. Now what I'll try and do is put my sewing machine on the desk, so that we can kind of like do this together a bit, you know, maybe not for all of them, but for one or two, because I'm probably going to decorate these now with the sewing machine, if that makes sense. So the reason for that is because obviously they're laminated pieces. Gluing things onto this, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's not going to be so easy. You know, your glue is going to be a little bit more resistant to wanting to stick on the laminate. And depending on the glue, of course, you know, it might not stick at all. So if I'm going to decorate these at all, I'm going to stitch the pieces down. So for example, you know, we might have just some sari silk or something like that running down the side of here. So if I just bring in, you know, for example here, I could maybe just run some sari silk down. So that would be stitched on there rather than, you know, glued and ruffled. I'd stitch that straight on. Again, you know, you could add lace and things like that. You could add some topper type pieces. Again, stitching them rather than sticking them. So I'm just going to grab my sewing machine. Okay, so hopefully you can kind of see, okay, I've put the sewing machine sort of to the side of it. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to stitch straight around the actual edge of these first. And then we'll kind of play around whether we're going to actually glue anything. So literally going to just take it down with a straight stitch. I like to try and make my straight stitch slightly bigger, and then hopefully that's going to, you know, be you know, piercing the paper at a bigger sort of distance. So just go right round the edges with my straight stitch. Personally, I find the laminate normally stitch is fine. This will probably be famous last words. I'll probably find it's all jamming left, right and centre in a minute, but touch wood, I've never had a problem stitching through laminated pieces, so hopefully this is going to be, you know, absolutely fine. So just going around the edge like that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do that on all of these, and then we'll come back and have a play around whether we want to you know, decorate them up or not. I mean, to be honest, because they're lace, obviously the lace is very pretty, so, you know, you don't really even have to decorate these. They would look gorgeous just literally with the lace pieces, you know, as they are. But obviously if you wanted to decorate them, then, you know, that would be fine as well. So I'm just going to go straight around the edges like I have with this one on all of them, and then I'll come back. Okay, so I've stitched all around the edges of these and everything. So this one, for example, is obviously one of the bigger ones. So I'm going to fold that in half. Again, you know, this is going to be sort of like possibly not folding accurately in half because, you know, the lace is kind of like a bit sort of weird to fold, and, you know, it's laminated and things, but that's fine. Don't kind of get too panicky about it. And then I've got this kind of like vintage book image. So I'm just going to try and double this over, just so it's a little bit thicker. Oops, like that. So what I'll do, I'm going to stitch around this first, like that. And the reason I'm doing this is just so it's got a little bit more thickness, because this is actually a, you know, vintage book page. It's not very thick, so I want to try and, you know, make it a little bit more robust and kind of like thick to stitch it onto the cover. So like that. Okay. Right, like that. Take that out, and then I'm just going to trim this up. So, you know, up to you really. You could trim it really close, you could have a little bit of a border, but I'm just going to kind of, yeah, go for it like that. Don't want to get too you know, panicky about how it's looking. Then I might just rough the edges up a bit. Obviously I need to be a bit careful because, like I say, this is a vintage book page, so it's, you know, a little bit on the fragile side. So like that, there we go. And then we'll just snip the threads off like that. Okay, so I mean that straight away is going to look gorgeous on there, isn't it? But what I can do is I can put like a little bit of lace or something just hanging out from the corner. So I mean, I could even use the same lace that I laminated, but that might not show up very much. So we'll just give this a try. But if it's not really kind of showing up much, then obviously I'll swap it with some other lace. So let's give this a try. Oops. Okay, so we could have it like that. I don't mind that. I don't know how much I think that's really showing up. So I've got some ivory coloured lace here as well. So let's just bring this in. Just going to see whether whether the ivory looks better or whether we could even have like the two, like, you know, layered up like that. Oh, I mean, how gorgeous does that look? So I'm going to open this up, and then what we want to do is stitch straight around that. Now, obviously it's a little bit fiddly because I've got those two bits of lace in there. Need to be careful, and it's very slippery. So yeah, this is not the best for someone like me who's pretty clumsy. Oops, and then, yeah, like that. Okay, just a little bit more. Okay, and go around here, the edge. Oops, around again. And down this edge. And then just go, you know, across the bottom a little bit as well. There we go. Right. Oops. Snip that off. Obviously then you've got, you know, a little bit of you know, stitching visible on the back, which, you know, I personally don't mind that. I mean, as you can see, I've gone a bit wonky there. It is very hard to get it straight because obviously the, you know, the laminate is quite slippery. So, you know, you probably will do a better job than me if I'm truthful. But yeah, I mean, I don't mind that. I think that looks fine. And then obviously you could just put like some ruffle or something like that down it. Now I'm having a look because I don't think I'm going to be able to sew the sari silk down because it's quite narrow. I think I'm likely to stitch my fingers on this, so I'd rather not do that if possible. But you know, you could put like some lace down the edge, you could put it on like this edge. I mean, to be honest, could even, yeah, I don't know whether I would make a very good job of doing it down the spine like that, but should we give that a try? Oh my goodness, this is very embarrassing, kind of like doing this on camera, because I suspect I'm not going to make a very good job. Right. Okay, so straight down like this. Okay. And then what I'll need to do is, oops, it's just getting caught on some bits on my desk. I will need to then go straight up the other side as well. And I'm not going to go down the middle, because when I stitch the pages in, that will, you know, secure the middle. So do I want to go well, yeah, I don't think it really matters if I go across this bottom bit or not, so let's just go straight across there like that. Okay, and then just turn it round. Okie dokie, straight up here. Oops. Again, getting caught on some stuff on my desk, but okay, straight across the top like that. So now I've got like a covered spine, which looks quite nice. So again, just going to trim that lace out, but I'm going to trim it, you know, a little bit hanging out at the bottom, because I quite like that look. So then obviously that folds in, you've got your lace covered spine now, which looks pretty, doesn't it? Obviously you could put some other things on there, so let's just see if I've got anything. I've got these little flowers we could stitch down. I mean, to be honest, I just think, bear in mind, anything that you're going to put down, ideally you're going to want to stitch it. So, you know, you can put down like as much or as little as you like, but you're going to probably need to stitch things on, because the laminate is, you know, going to be trickier to glue. So I'm just going to literally go back and forth here, putting that flower down. Okay. That's it. Oops. 1, 2. Yep, so that looks really quite cute on there. I mean, again, you know, maybe I could have done with doing a bit of stitching like at the top of it really, but I think it's okay like that. Now at this point, if you wanted to have like a pocket or anything on the inside cover, then of course you could stick a pocket. And when I say stick, I mean stitch, obviously. So let me just see whether I've got any suitable paper laying around. I mean, I'm saying paper, to be honest, you don't have to use paper. You could use, you know, you could use more lace. Would be quite nice, but I mean, I don't necessarily think this because it's, yeah, it's not really ideal. Oh, this is annoying, isn't it? Let me just see. Oh, come on, I must have some paper laying around that's going to be going okay. Well, I've got this, which is book page, so yeah, we could have this just stitched in here. So if I just trim this down on the sides, just trim it there because it's not very straight. Okay, and yeah, a bit more down on this side. Okay, right. So this one, so what I could do is stitch that there to the front cover. So I'm going to quickly take that down a bit. Now, obviously this, you know, I'm doing all of this because this is a big, you know, a big one. I would not bother doing all of this with the small ones. So, you know, I'm only doing this really because it's one of the bigger ones. So if I just stitch this down, right, I need to be very careful because this is slippy and I don't want to have my pocket really wonky in there. Didn't mind the like topper on the front, but the pocket will look pretty rubbish if it's too wonky. I think I have got it a bit wonky already, but it is quite difficult to, you know, to get it really straight. Okay. Let's see what type of job I've done of that. Oh, not too bad. Not too bad at all. So obviously on the front, you've just got like a little bit there that you can see from the, you know, where the cover's been, the pocket's been stitched in. I think that looks quite cute. Obviously you could, you know, put some more lace or anything down on there if you wanted to. I don't know whether I will, but yeah, I mean, could just kind of like have a little bit of lace going out at the side, I suppose. So yeah, let's just do a little bit there. Like that. Just literally stick that down. Not stick it down, stitch it down. Like that. Okay. So that's pretty much it. And then obviously get some pages. So I've got here a variety of coffee dyed and food colour papers. So obviously I don't want the purple. That doesn't really go. But yeah, we can definitely have some green in there. So take the green. Right, just going to fold that in, and obviously it does want trimming down because otherwise it's going to be too big. I mean, not that I really mind if it sort of overhangs. Maybe that looks quite pretty, to be honest. Yeah, maybe I quite like it actually. So I'll just put a couple more sheets in. So these are just coffee dyed sheets, these ones. So just pop those in, and then yeah, maybe kind of like intersperse the coffee dyed and the green like that. Oops. Like that. I mean, you don't want tons of pages in there because you're just making a sort of very simplistic kind of journal, but you know, something like that. Do we think that that's going to look better like this, neat and tidy, or do you quite like it with the pages hanging out? If I have the pages hanging out, I don't think I want them hanging out really, not symmetrically, but you know what I mean. What is the word? Evenly? Yeah, don't want them hanging out evenly. I'd rather they have, like, you know, a bit of sort of interest with different levels. So we'll just see how this looks. It might look rubbish, but let's just see. I mean, I quite like that, to be honest, hanging out. And then what I will probably do is stitch or glue just a little bit of lace on one or two of those. So to be honest, might be easier to do that first. So I'm going to do it on this green one. Again, just going to use the same same lace that we've used, you know, on the cover. So I'll just take that and stitch that down the edge of that page. Okey-dokey. Where did that go? Did that go in here? Can't remember now. So yeah, a little bit of lace. Do we want some more? Maybe a little bit here as well. So yeah, just one more bit of lace. I think what I'll do, I put it on the reverse side. Oops. Yeah, just again stitch that down. Okay, like that. Just snip that out there. Right, so put that way round. Yep, like that. So you've just then got like a couple of interesting, you know, edges sort of poking out there, which looks pretty, doesn't it? I've got lots of threads. I mean, I personally quite like the threads, so I might just leave them all there hanging. And then I'm going to just stitch these straight through in the middle. So, again, I'm probably not going to make a very good job of this because, again, it's just quite slippery against the, you know, the pages against the laminate. So let's just see. Right. I like to do a back stitch if I'm doing things like this because, you know, you want your pages like in really nicely. So a bit of a back stitch, stitch straight down the middle. Got this horrible feeling my pages are now longer than my journal, but, you know, longer than the cover. Again, I mean, it doesn't really matter. To be honest, they probably were actually, because I just thought I maybe trimmed down the... Well, they look okay. Yeah, looks okay. What a gorgeous little journal that is. So, you know, that's a really cute and easy kind of like thing to do. It's using up some of your lace and things. You're getting some different texture with the laminated kind of, you know, finish to the lace. You've got quite a few pages in there for journaling. You've got like a big pocket here, so you could obviously put some, you know, some journal cards or anything else in there. You could obviously clip some other pieces on here. So, you know, I've got here like some photos. I mean, obviously these are printables, but, you know, these aren't coffee dyed. But if I had coffee dyed these, I could just literally take a couple of these, clip them in, you could staple them in, you know, so you've got kind of like different stuff going on, and then it all adds to the journaling space that you've got. You know, you've got your basic pages, and then you're adding kind of like gradually some more journaling space with your bits that you're kind of attaching, but you're not actually kind of like having to make pockets as such. So, you know, like these, for example, you could just literally have them, you know, stapled in like that. You know, you could staple them in like this. So it's like, you know, husband and wife kind of on that page or something like that. And then straight away, you know, that's a really nice kind of very simple journal. Pop something in the pocket, and, you know, what a nice kind of gift that would be for somebody or something like that. I really, really like it. Obviously, I've not put a closure on. Part the reason why I haven't put a closure is because obviously my pages are hanging out at the side. So I don't want to squish them in. They're probably okay, providing I didn't pull it too tight. But, you know, again, you could add a closure. Or you could just have a closure around this way instead. And then that would be fine. But to be honest, you know, look at it. It's holding down anyway. It's not like it's really needing a closure particularly. But yeah, what a cute little journal. So that's kind of like a big one. So let's do like one of the smaller ones here. So just to kind of like get some different stuff going on. So this one obviously much, much smaller. I've stitched around the edge. So I'm going to just fold this one in half like that. Now, I don't even know whether I would have room to put one of these book images because I think they're probably too wide. Yeah, it's too wide really. I mean, I could chop it off there, but yeah, I think it's too wide still. So I have got some of my edge strips. So these are my edge strips, 2nd edition. So I could take some of this. Obviously you can see it's kind of like had a bit of a mishap with the printer. So I'm going to just take this part here. Okay. Just going to tear it because I quite like the torn edge kind of appearance, like that, and then just, yeah, like this. Now I did say, didn't I, that I didn't think that I would bother putting pockets into the smaller ones. So yeah, let's have a look. I mean, I might change my mind on that, but yeah, let's just see kind of how this looks. So if I were to have this like on the front cover, now, do I want it like, you know, longer? Do I want it just like that portion, or just the image? So I'm just going to tear it there. I mean, I think that's quite nice. I didn't bother inking the other bits, but I am going to ink this one. So let me just grab my ink pad. Oops. Okay, so I'll just ink this up. Like that. Okay, so that looks really, really lovely, doesn't it? And then, you know, you could kind of edge it with maybe some of the other page, or we could put some lace on it, or maybe I've got some book page that I can kind of like put down behind it. Let me just see what I've got laying around. Hold on. Okay, so I've got this. So we could just pop it there. So this is kind of like doubled up, but that's fine. So I'm just going to, again, stitch around this on the sewing machine. So, in fact, I'm going to take that over, and then hopefully we've got text all the way around. Okay, stitch around there. Okie dokie. Like that. And then chop this down. Okie dokie. That looks nice, doesn't it? Already, I'm liking that. And then I'm not going to rough the edges up on this one, but yeah, I'll just kind of like ink it like this, so it's sort of like messing the edges up, if you see what I mean. It's not keeping them flat and tidy. So yeah, that looks very cute, doesn't it? We can pop that there. Oh, I absolutely love that. Right, and let me just squish it down with this for a minute while I have a look to see, because we might want to have a bit of lace or something poking out of here. I've got this little bit here in this colour, so let's just see. Well, that might not be the right colour after all. What do we think? Or do we think the ivory? What happened to that other bit of ivory lace that I thought I just snipped off a little bit somewhere, and now I can't see it anywhere. I don't know where that's gone. Right, let's take this. Oops. Right, I feel like it's not showing up that much, so I'm going to just ink the lace up, just so as it shows up a bit more. Okay. Oops. All these bits of lace and things now that every time I move, they're kind of like falling in. Right, there we go. So yeah, we could just have it like that. Again, just going to stitch this, around, pulling my sewing machine apart. So, yep, going to stitch that here. Okie dokie. that's obviously stitching the lace in place as well. Like that. Okie dokie. Put that around there. If you didn't have a sewing machine, you can always staple things down. That's another good way to attach them to laminate. The other thing that you could do, you could use eyelets, or you could use brads. So, you know, what you could have done was just put like, you know, a brad in each of the corners or something like that. That would also hold it onto laminate if you're having some problems with it, you know, sticking with the glue. But isn't that so lovely? Now, don't know whether I want to bother with a pocket, because I did say I probably won't, didn't I? So let's just have a look and see. Get some more book page. Okay. So, yeah, I'm thinking, you know, we could potentially have a pocket here. Do we want to do that? I don't know whether we do or not. Well, let's give it a try. So I'm going to just cut it down. Yeah, I'm going to just cut it down here. And then I'm going to just cut it down just along here. This might be too tall really for here. It's quite a huge pocket. So let me just take this down now. I mean, this was just some paper that was just laying around on my desk. I would obviously put it there for, you know, making something else. But yeah, let's give this a try. Folded here. Okay. Put this down on the edge. Do you want it like that? Just going to cut it down slightly more. Right, I will just ink this because for some reason this feels like it needs to be inked. The other one I didn't really think it sort of looked too much like it needed to be inked, but this one I do. So yeah, let's just ink that up. Right, do we think that's still too tall? I do think that is quite tall, to be honest. Yeah, I'm going to have to go down slightly smaller. Okay. Because, I mean, it's only a small book, isn't it? You know, I don't want it to look really ridiculous. Let's try it like that. Just ink that up. Okay. So, again, then what we're going to do, we're just going to stitch this around here. My goodness, struggling to just check if this is in the right place. Right, there we go. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I'm going to get this straightish and not over the, you know, what's going to be the spine. I can't really see the spine very clearly on this. The other one was sort of easier to see because it was the dark lace, and also I've already put the lace down over the spine. I'm not going to put lace on the spine of this because it's only a small book. I feel like the lace would like swamp the cover. You know, if I had lace running down there, I feel like it would be, yeah, quite big on there. So I'm not going to bother doing that. Right, let's snip this out. Okie dokie. Oops. Goodness, what a lot of threads I've got there. Okay, right. How gorgeous does that look? So then again, what we'll do, we'll just take a couple of pages. Now I have also brought along some, you know, Amazon packaging, which I thought this will be perfect for some pages too. So let me cut this down. I'm so sorry, I just had to chop that out because I noticed my address was on there. So yeah, basically all I've done is cut down the paper bag. So, you know, you didn't miss anything kind of too, you know, technical or anything. We've just literally cut down some of the bag to form the pages. And again, you know, I've not been kind of too precious. If they've got a little bit of like barcodey bits on them, you know, that's fine by me. So I'll just quickly do one more kind of little set of pages like that. Okay, so straight away, you know, a good way to use up some of your Amazon packaging, or, you know, if you've got like paper bags or anything like that, it's all going to be good to use for little pages for these. That can go in there. I really like the contrast of like the white with the brown pages. I think that looks really cute. So yeah, and again, just going to stitch those in. Okey-dokey. Right, this one feels worse to stitch down because my Amazon packaging is kind of like, you know, it feels like, oh gosh, no, hang on, my needle needs threading now. Yeah, it feels like it's a bit rebellious, the Amazon packaging. It's kind of like a bit sort of crumpled up, so it's not wanting to sit really neatly in the middle to stitch down. Right, hang on, let me just rethread my needle. And then we can stitch this one down. Now, obviously, this one being a bit, or a lot smaller than the last one. I mean, the last one's kind of like a little journal on its own, really. This one is, not sure that's gone through there. Oh, it has. That was very quick for me, I must say. Sometimes it takes me 10 minutes to thread a needle. Yeah, this one, obviously, I'm meaning to really go in a pocket. So, you know, the other one was like a journal in its own right. This one, I'm kind of like thinking, you know, like a little pocket type piece. So actually to put in a journal rather than, you know, piece on its own. You could just paper clip it in or anything, you know, or to be honest, it is quite cute. You could always make a little matching pouch for this or something, and, you know, that would be like a really cute little Happy Mail gift, you know, really sweet. You've got, obviously, the pocket in there, and then exactly like we talked about with the other one, if you wanted to kind of like, you know, give that a little bit more journaling space, it's just a bit resistant to wanting to stay folded down, this one. But yeah, I think it will be fine once it's, you know, once it's been there for a while. But if you wanted to add a little bit more journaling space, again, you could just like, you know, add some extra bits. I'm not going to add that. Well, I could ink it up, I guess, and then I can just staple this in, or, you know, whatever. Just so to get that in, maybe I'll have a bit of this as well. So yeah, just ink this round. Okay, like that. And, you know, again, you can kind of like spread them out, or, you know, however you want it, and then can just staple that straight across the top. Oh, my stapler! Oh, this drives me potty. Oh, my goodness. Oh, it's every single time. Need to really send this back. I've probably had it longer than the time you have to have them, but yeah, I mean, I haven't had it very long, to be honest. There we go. How cute does that look? So you've got, you know, the pages there, you've got like a couple of extra kind of scrappy bits, you've got a little pocket on the front, so yeah, really cute. And to be honest, depending on, you know, how you feel about this, whether you want to keep it really nice and flat, you could always kind of like put you know, an eyelet or something on here and make a closure. So shall we quickly do that? Let's do a little closure here. Oh, I feel nervous because this is really nice. I don't want to spoil it by trying to add the eyelet and muck it up. But oh, I just have to hope for the best, right? So straight in the side. Obviously, you might need to snip it out, you know, it's kind of like pierced it, but you might need to snip it out the final bit, because obviously it's like got the laminate and the lace. Okay, and then just pop your eyelet through. Oh my goodness, if you can see. I can't see because my lace is now kind of like spread back over the hole. That's really annoying. Okay, right, like that, and then just, yep, squish that down. Okie dokie. And then just put like something in there. I'm thinking twine. Okay, yep. Let's just use this. Yeah, okay, that's absolutely plenty. So, yep, hold on a moment. Take that there. Then poke it through, double it through like that. That's going to kind of clasp it in there. And then you could just wind that round a couple of times, poke it in. And obviously the baker's twine, you know, that's still holding very flat. So that's still a nice flat piece to tuck into a pocket. But you've got there, you know, a little kind of laminated lace booklet, which really, really cute, isn't it? Now I have to say, I can't actually see what the time is. So I have no idea how long I've been filming for. But yeah, we might only have time for those two. So I will double check what the time is. And then we might make another one or we might not. Okay, so we've got time probably for one more. So we're going to do one of these navy blue ones, I think. So is this like a sort of size in between the other two? I hope it is. Now, I can kind of like make out which was the right way and the wrong way of the lace on the other ones. Weirdly, I don't seem to be able to on this navy blue lace, which is really odd. I don't know why that is. But yeah, so we're just going to, again, take this, fold it, whoops, fold it in half, like that, okay. Now, I'm not sure, like I say, whether I've got any pieces from that book page. No, they're all too wide for that still. I could use that photo. Oh, I seem to have two of those. That's weird, isn't it? No, that looks too big. Let me just have a look and see what else I've got. Okay, so for this one, I've got these. These are from my autumn collection papers, and this is from the ephemera part. So I'm going to cut out this, I think, and let's hope that this is going to look very pretty on here. I often struggle with navy blue for some reason. Don't know why, but yeah, I feel like it's, you know, sometimes tricky to work with. So, right, got this. Let's just tuck that under there so it doesn't keep kind of like popping open. Right, so this obviously is in a frame, so I'm going to test my sewing skills, because I'm going to have to kind of stitch this like in an oval shape. Oh, who knows how I'm going to get on with that, but let's give it a go. Okie dokie. Like that. Right, and what I will do, I will again sort of back this onto book page, I think, because this is only on, well, it's slightly thicker than copy paper, but you know, it's not on thick paper or anything. So just to kind of like reinforce it, I'm going to put it on like that. So just going to stitch around this on the sewing machine. Oh, wish me luck, because this is, yeah, gonna test me a little bit. Being around the oval shape. Right, okay. Just go around. Well, I mean, it's not looking the best, but it's okay. I mean, unfortunately, I've stitched kind of like all over the frame, so I've kind of lost some of the pretty detail of the frame, which is a shame. But, I mean, yeah, can't really be helped, to be honest. Right. Oh, it looks terrible, doesn't it? Bit of an eyesore, really. Oh, well. Right, so let's just go around there with the book page kind of like edging out as well. And then I will ink this, which might make it look better. If it still looks really terrible, what I might do is just go around the inner part, which is like much more definitive oval. Oh, it looks much better now I've cut that down. Actually, it looks okay. Yeah, I didn't think it was going to, but it does look okay. So right, just ink this up. Okie dokie. Oh, I mean, it actually looks really lovely, doesn't it? Okay, so that can go on there like that, and then just see whether we want to have any lace or anything coming out of here. Again, not sure that that's the ideal colour really. I've got a little bit of ivory here. I'll just get rid of this like header piece. I love it when I have like the frayed type look. Yeah, let's just try it like that. Again, just going to ink this up because otherwise it's quite whitey looking. Okay. Oh, that looks pretty, doesn't it? So, yeah. Going to just stitch that down. Oh gosh, now I've got to like stitch around again. Why am I doing this? If I hadn't made an eyesore enough going around that oval the first time, I've now got to go around it a second time. Okay. I can't remember where I started either now. So, oh my goodness, might end up going around it a third time. Right. Okay. Like that. Snip that out at the back. Oh my gosh, how gorgeous does that look? I'm not sure it's quite straight, but that's fine. I don't really mind. Could maybe even have like a little street name on there or something. What do we think? Yeah, let's do that. So just ink that up. Okay. So again, just going to stitch that round. Oops. Oh, this is going to be like really a nightmare. Feels already like it's slipping around everywhere. Oh my gosh, what am I doing this for? Okay. Okie dokie, and across here. Oh my goodness. Right. Get that out. Now weirdly, where this is navy blue, to be honest, although I've stitched quite a few things on the back, it's not that noticeable. You know, so I mean, yeah, if you didn't put a pocket on there, I don't think it would really matter. Not that that's why I've put pockets on the other pieces, you know. But yeah, I just kind of mean, if you were to just put book pages in there with no pocket, I think that would work fine too. So, you know, I don't think it necessarily, you know, is crying out to have a pocket on there really. Right, let me just see whether I've got, because there's a bit of the autumn background pages that I feel like would just look really good with this. And of course I don't have them to hand. Oh, what's this one? Okay, this one. So this obviously is really like tying in really nicely with that topper. Now the problem is it's going to have to be very narrow. Okay. Right, let's take that there. Just going to fold it in. I mean, it's quite, yeah, quite narrow, but fold it in there. Like that. Oops. Like that. Okay. Just throw it down there. Like that. And right. So yeah, if I had that folded there. Okay, and yeah, we could just make a little pocket there. I'm gonna just cut that down around about here. Oops. Might be a bit too tall still, so let me just take it down a bit more. Oh my goodness, I've not made a good job of this again. Oh, what's going on with me? Right. Okay, so yeah, that can go in there. I'm just going to take this down slightly here. In terms of width, we will just ink this up. What have I done with my blendy tool? There it is. Like that. So yeah, I'm going to just stitch this down here. Okay. Right. Like that. Across here. Up the side. Okay. Right. There we go. So you've got obviously your front cover, and then you've got your, you know, inside pocket. Again, I'm not going to put lace. I'm not going to put lace or anything up that spine because it's quite a narrow little booklet. I don't want to kind of encroach on, you know, the space here. Could put some lace running down here, I suppose, but I don't know really whether I want to. Oh, that perhaps looks quite nice. Let me just quickly snip this straight. Hold on. So yeah, I mean, could have that there, I suppose. Yeah, maybe we'll have a little bit of lace just going down that bottom bit. So again, like, just stitch that down. Oh, 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 that lace is just moving all over the place. You know, that laminate is definitely quite tricky to work with. Oh my goodness, hang on. Now look what's happened to my lace. That's not good, is it? Right. Well, that's okay. So what I could do, I could probably snip it here, make it narrower, so it's got less to be doing that weird sort of effect. Could have stitched it on the inner edge, but I didn't want to because obviously that would go over my pocket potentially. So yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a silly slither now of lace, but it's okay. So again, I'll just pop some pages in here, and then that will be, you know, that one done. So I probably haven't got time to do the pages because I think I've now probably kind of like up to time now. So let's pull in the ones that we have done. So imagine this obviously with the pages. Again, I wouldn't mind having the brown Amazon packaging pages because I think that looked quite pretty. But aren't they just so gorgeous? So yeah, let me know what you think. Obviously I've got these two left to do, but yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know if you feel inspired to do some. And yeah, don't forget to obviously leave comments saying some suggestions for the future Mojo Masterclasses. Because obviously, you know, that's how I'm kind of like generating the ideas. So this one was kind of like some other ideas to use lace. So, you know, without those ideas, obviously, I'm not really going to have much of a series. So, yeah, do leave some ideas of things that you would like to see that you think might spark your creativity if you are in a bit of a creative slump with your junk journals. So, yeah, really love to hear what you think to these. Have these sparked your creativity and got your, you know, mojo kind of back or anything? And yeah, really appreciate a big thumbs up to this video. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, would really appreciate you subscribing. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks then. Bye.